We are live in 5, 4, 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome here to today's Advanced Auto Retail Marketing webcast panel. This is a monthly session we host. It's one of 6 different webcast programs that we conduct each month under the Auto Retail Marketing webcast series. I'll share more about that a little bit later in the program. My name is Ryan Girardi. Today is Tuesday, February the 11th. Thank you so much for joining us. You might be here on the live stream and appreciate taking time out of your day to be part of this a great discussion that we have lined up. Maybe you're watching the recording on your own convenience. Either way works fine. This is recorded and available on our YouTube channel under the playlist section and also on the Auto Converse podcast. So for today's session, we're going to basically dedicate it to being like a final preview of the upcoming NADA show, which is later this week, the 14th through the 17th here of February. Last month, we had Troy Blackwell, Micah Burkholtz, Mike the Car Guy Carrera on talking about a little bit about our NADA strategies. So really kind of continuing that discussion today. Micah and Mike Carrera are back with us today, as is Darren Farnsworth and Katie Jackson Richter from Cuneo Advertising, and Mike Benavides is with us as well. So that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, bring everybody on camera. Hello, hello, and great to be here with you guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Katie, welcome here for the first time. So
First time. Thank you for having me.
Getting you inaugurated. So
yes, thank you.
Guy Campbell is logged onto the Zoom, just saying hello to everybody as well. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get into the NADA discussion in a few moments. But first, what I want to do is we have Darren Farnsworth with 2020E Consulting out in Salt Lake City, Utah. And Darren focuses on website design, development, and marketing automation. He was a guest on the Mobility Tech and Connectivity show last year, which we themed after him: music, marketing, and motorcycles. Those are Darren's passions. So to kick things off, Darren, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up the VW site. But why don't you take the stage for a few minutes and walk us through some of the aspects of the site. I think the more unconventional, I don't even want to say unconventional, but kind of an unprecedented aspect is how you do the VDP page and the special offers page, right?
Yeah, correct. There's a couple key things that we wanted to accomplish with this website. Obviously, the hip thing is the user experience, the UX. And one thing you'll notice is as you land on the website, there's no offers on the homepage. There are no pop-ups. I'm sure you guys have experienced this, or maybe even have this on your own website. But a lot of dealer websites, you go there, and you can have up to 2 to 3 pop-ups that occur, and you're basically having that visitor say no 3 times. Allow location. No. Would you like to chat with us? No. Would you like to sign up for email club? No. Now you want me to say yes, right? And buy a car. So that's always annoying to me as a website visitor. So I assume it is to everybody else.
We hear it all the time. I think all of us could probably agree.
Yeah. Most people still do it, right?
Yeah.
And one thing you'll notice is the website kind of alludes to helping and not selling. So it's the first things that you see are like, how can we help you? We want to take care of your car. It's not like now's the time to buy, right? So it's service first, then sales. In my mind, it shows that they're going to be there for me after a vehicle's purchased, and it's not all about selling the car, Maybe if you want to move on to the inventory, if you want to go to new and choose a vehicle that you're into.
On the VW side, Katie, why don't you pick a car for us?
I'm a mom. I'm going to go with the Atlas.
Atlas. We'll go with the Atlas right here.
So one thing you'll notice is as you scroll down through the website, I mean, you can add filters to narrow down your search or widen your search. But as you scroll through the website, at any time, you can look at all the photos right here. So you can click on an image.
I was looking for the filter.
Once you do that,
you want me to
load the
click an image
and
here?
start a slideshow.
Okay.
You can drag and you can swipe, or you can press the buttons. If the vehicle has 60 photos, you can literally see all 60 photos right here on the SRP, the search results page. Let's say you're going through this, you're like, oh, that's not the one I'm into. You scroll down. If you click on info and price, it's going to pop down the summary. Then you've got sub navigation here where you got price, warranty, and details. So you can essentially see everything you need to see about the car without leaving the search results page. If you see that, doesn't have the right engine or this or that, then you can go ahead and scroll down to the next vehicle. So it's an infinite scroll. Essentially, you can land on the search results page and see the whole inventory of the dealer without leaving the one page. So it could truly be a one-page visit. Yeah, and just maybe you can highlight if you do the info, and then you expand that drop down, and then you've got price, warranty information, details.
Very nice.
And if you do want to have the VDP experience, you can literally click on the text where it says new 2019. Yep, and then now you are on the VDP.
And that's its own URL.
Yep. So the VDPs do exist. It's just you don't have to go there if you don't want to.
Okay.
Now, maybe the next thing, if you go into new or used, you can choose an offer.
Before we do, I'd like to get quick feedback. Mike Carrera, you're a car guy. What's your initial impression of what Darren just showed us?
I'm loving it because one of the things that I was always taught is, give the customer what they're looking for in as few clicks as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing pretty much everything that I would want, but it would normally take me 3, 4, 5 clicks to get to without that. So it's very easy to navigate, and it's really simple. I love it.
The thing is, most people are visiting on their mobile device, and when you are on a mobile device, coverage is spotty in places, good in others. So with this experience, that more information just pops out immediately on a mobile device. Whereas if you wanted to see something on a traditional VDP, you click on the VDP, you wait a while, and then whatever pops up is what you've already seen. You see the photo and the price. So it's like, takes more time, and you have to take more actions to see more.
You wanted me to go to offers, you said,
yeah,
right?
choose an offer. Unfortunately, at this very moment, there's not like model specific. So if you go to specials, one dime down. But you can imagine if it was more specific to a model. So
So I should go to current specials?
Or click on one dime down, or credit approve
Oh, one dime down, okay.
Pick your poison. So here, if you look at the URL, it says inventory offer, and then it has the offer ID number. So you scroll down. With this page, you can have whatever size image you want. You can have the description of the offer, but it lands you into the search results page. So if this was model specific, actually this one is tied to a Jetta, then you're at all the Jettas. And you can literally, again, scroll all the way down to the end of the inventory, 500 vehicles or so. So, if you're doing marketing and you are driving someone to your website, instead of sending them to your search results page with no explanation of the offer, or to your home page, this directs people directly to where they need to be, and they see exactly what they need to see in a one-page experience.
So this offers section is specific to where I just came from?
Yep. So it's inventory, but it's under the offer subfolder.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So are
there could be-
you, sorry. Are you using that as a landing environment for a lot
Yes.
of your paid tactics then?
Yep.
the whole page, not an individual offer?
Yeah. So let's say if it was a certain payment on a Jetta or a certain price on a Jetta, then you would land on that Jetta offer, and then you have the Jettas down below. This offer is a little more generic, not specifically talking about a particular vehicle.
Okay.
Another thing about the site is, since we've launched it, it's had really high average time visits. Just as of today, in the past 30 days, it's had 4 minutes and 11 seconds average visit on the website, which is pretty strong. And lastly, what I'd like to point out is I did an article on my website, 2020 e-consulting, about how dealerships are basically paying to give their marketing data away to other companies, right? So, and in doing so, adding all these different scripts on your website slows the website down, and which can have an impact on your SEO, impact on conversion, and user experience, right? So we've eliminated most of these third-party scripts. Obviously, there's Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager, but outside of that, there are no additional scripts on the website. So that makes a huge difference in loading time.
And Mike and Micah, you might recall in our last discussion, that was a big part of the conversation was, the scripts that are on the sites, the data collection, how all these companies are monetizing that. What I'm curious about, Darren, as we kind of wrap up this segment is, did you have to sell the dealer on your philosophy of how a dealer site should be? Or was the dealer coming to you saying, these are the things I know I need on my site and don't need and want out of it, and I need you to build that?
It was, I was actually buying a car there, and we had a conversation, and we were talking about that specific thing about how different service providers could potentially steal your marketing data, and he was asking me more about it, and we got to talking, and he was very open to the whole concept of the design and the trying to eliminate the VDP, and but I think the biggest selling point for him specifically was eliminating the third-party marketing scripts.
Mm. I'm curious.
That's great, man.
I'm curious,
Thanks.
Micah, and it's come up now a few times. Do you think that'll be something that becomes a pressing issue industry-wide as far as the dealers I guess putting their foot down, kind of like, remember with DMSs after the whole TrueCar debacle, dealers like, stay out of my DMS, like no one's coming in. Are we going to have the same thing on websites too? Get your script off my site.
I think that you'll go to different technical conferences where you'll have a different type of attendee that becomes a point of contention, and they'll bring it back to the store and they'll talk about it for the first 30 to 60 days, and they'll try to figure out a workaround or a solving of that issue and then forget about it. I think that we see that trend a lot. I do think that it is extremely important that limiting to the number of containers on your site, 1 to 2 tops. I think that that is going to be an issue, and it will be until there's a new product that comes out that says, hey, this is our entire operating philosophy. Because what we've seen from before is we built a website without an operating philosophy. Darren has this saying, hey, I don't want to share my data with anybody else. I want to build a website around that and have the same, if not better, performance. And I can see that from your perspective of building the product around that type of need is where it's going to be a better focus in the long run. So I like what I'm seeing quite a bit with that website. I'm interested in seeing tracking, of course, because that's kind
I knew you were going to say that. I didn't want to steal your thunder, man.
No, but that's just, from my perspective, I want to see how do we track that? Can you open up different sessions based upon what are they interacting with on the site? It's going to take a little bit different of scripting and tagging, of course, with the GA in that, especially if they don't ever leave the SRP. So there's some pieces on that I'm very curious about, but I'm very excited to see that streamlined SRP experience.
And that was kind of a big thought process on this, is that you can kind of measure the depth of interest. So with Google Tag Manager, you can put things that read people clicking on the different buttons. So if you think about a VDP as someone clicking on a VDP and seeing the whole thing, you're getting a gauge of interest. They click on more information. They click on price. They click on warranty. They click on vehicle details. Or they clicked on the photo. Now I know that the person's very engaged in that particular vehicle, and then you can do your retargeting based upon their reaction or reactions to different vehicles on your inventory.
Yeah, I did add, I was curious when it came to the URL strings. Do you separate or define between new, used, CPO in the line?
It is in the URL string, yes. And so yeah, we can link to either, CPO or use Jetta, or, however you want to break that down.
Cool. I saw the vehicle ID number in the top right corner for that atlas, and I was just kind of curious how far in depth do you have that built out, just for SEO purposes. So there's little pieces like that I was curious about. But
I like the way you think. I like the way you think, Micah. We'll get along just fine.
Nothing will get by Micah on that kind of stuff. Well, good. Very, very nice looking site. I would add that if you couldn't tell how fluidly it responded and performed, like it wasn't hanging or anything like that. It was just moving and moving. It worked really well. So thank you, Darren, for sharing that.
Thanks for having
Darren's
me.
in our
Ryan.
Slack member network. If anyone wants to touch base with Darren, again, 2020 e-consulting. He's in the LinkedIn influencers group as
on Twitter too. Song of the day.
yes. So let's segue into NADA. I just wanted to let folks know that are here backstage on the Zoom. I saw Dave Rosick up there, Guy Campbell. If you guys want to chime in with audio, I can turn your mics on at some point. Just raise your hand if you have something you want to add. Video's maxed out right now at 6. We're going to segue into the next segment here, talking about the upcoming NADA Show 2020 here. Starts on Friday the 14th, Valentine's Day. Runs through Monday. Just in case anyone might have missed it, we released our game plan for the show yesterday on the blog on Auto Conversion. What we have basically are different booth sponsorships, as you can see here, with Revolution Parts, QB Business Solutions, Dealer Built, Mike Carrera, Uber for Business, and then Drive It Away. We're doing what I call some on-the-go interviews with. So down here's our schedule. You can see on Saturday, AM will be with Revolution Parts. If you want to grab an interview or conversation with me at Revolution Parts, if that time slot works for you, that's where I'll be. There's a link to schedule those. Saturday PM from 1 to 4 will be at QB Business Solutions, and back again Sunday morning from 9 to 12. Then Sunday afternoon, we're going to be doing a live panel at Uber for Business on mobility as a service. I think tomorrow I'll be announcing who's going to be on that. Most likely a few people that you've heard of or know. Looking forward to that for sure. And then Monday will be by Mike Carrera's booth, Dealer Built. All of this is in the C Hall. And the benefit of showing up is, you get to meet some great people. They're recorded, and then you'll end up being featured on various videos and blogs, and likely be featured on the Auto Converse podcast as well. So that's our game plan. Micah, I'd like to let you kick off this segment, and then we'll turn to Katie. We always talk about the consumer experience, the customer experience.
Yeah.
I had asked somebody whose company specializes in doing events for companies. They do the audio visual. And when I think of events, I think that the two big things that we go for are relationships and information. Relationships and information. And I asked her what she thinks makes an event, and she straight up said, it's the experience. If you have a great experience, you will want to go back. So yeah. Michael, why don't you go ahead and lead that, on that note, and kind of give us your angle on what makes a great experience from a dealer's perspective at NADA.
So I like to take a look at it that we and I'll say it, I'm a vendor, right? I'm a vendor. Pretty much everybody on the panel in some form or another is a vendor. And now for us, it's been flipped. The script's been flipped whenever we go to NADA, because as a vendor, we're generally reaching out and going to the dealership, right? We're going to them. And the sales manager, they're being pitched. But now when we go to an NADA, we go to a digital dealer, whatever the conference is. Now that dialogue is, now that narrative shifted on us. Now they're coming to us, they're walking by our booths. Now, are we going to, eat our own dog food? Are we going to drink the Kool-Aid and say, you know what, we preach and preach to dealerships that you have to have a great experience for your customers. But then when we go to a show, do we treat the general managers, the dealer principals, the internet sales managers, or heck, even just the salesperson walking by, do we treat them as somebody who can't buy a car? do we treat them and don't respect them for who they are and welcome them into our house, our booth, or into that conversation off into the corner where we might just want to try to find a quiet spot? So when it comes to the NADA conference, how can we as vendors show them that we care about this industry as much as they do, and we just want to help them and partner with them? And in doing so, give them an experience that is not full of sales breath, but truly what we try to preach to them about giving their car buyers a true experience. And I think that's a dialogue that's missed out on a lot of these conferences. And if you go to blogs all over automotive marketing sphere, it's all about do better, but then it's a vendor telling a dealership. Now, how can we be better as vendors? How can we give a better experience? I think is a conversation that is necessary to have in this industry. And especially somebody that works in an agency like Katie, you probably deal with that on a regular basis too, because you see both sides really well.
We do see both sides, because in some ways, as we're walking through the advertising section of NADA, some of these people are partners, are trusted partners. Some will consider the agency as competitors. Some welcome you into the booth, and others are like, no, we have a secret sauce we don't want to expose you to.
Right.
So it's,
I love that line. That's one of my favorite, secret sauce. We got a secret sauce.
And I think if I like where you're going, Micah, if we all just focus on, there's a lot of dealers there who have varying levels of needs and experiences, and it's our behavior and the way we want to interact that can really define a dealer's perception of working with a vendor.
Right. Did you see Brent Weiss put out a blog post recently about Brent Weiss? He wrote on LinkedIn, I think is where it's at, is where I think it's called "What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding." About there's some conversations in the Twitter sphere about how vendors going to NADA are wasting money, or it's just a huge party. And it really says, hey, let's just take a step back and say, these are people, right? These are human beings that invested in a company that are trying to share what they're doing, and they're making a big investment. Like for Vista Dash, it's an investment for Dan Moore and I to go.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so how do we recuperate it? But how do we recuperate it and still hold to the ethics and the integrity of our character and of our business? I think that's what we have to really focus on at these shows.
The beautiful thing for me in my position, Micah, as an account manager, I'm not in sales. When I joined the Dealer Built sales group, I specifically said I spent 30 years in sales in the dealership world. I need a break from sales. I want to help people. I think I have a lot to offer. So as an account manager, I'm not at NADA to sell you on why Dealer Built is a great DMS. I am there, and I'm there because I have a presence and I know a lot of people in the industry, and that's really what I get out of it. For the first time, I'm not going there to find a product to take back to my dealership and try to sell my GM on why he should spend money on it. I am learning, I'm interacting, I'm networking, I'm talking to folks like you and Ryan and Katie, and I'm getting information about the industry that I'm so passionate about, that I've spent my entire life devoted to. So for me, it is truly a chance to learn, to grow and develop. And along that, I do meet some people that work maybe at a dealership that haven't heard of my product, and we develop that relationship, and then we follow up later on, and then I can introduce them to one of our great salespeople, and they further a conversation. But I'm not there specifically to sell anything. I'm really there for the event itself, and I get so much out of it. I meet so many great people, share so many great stories. It's just an amazing place to be.
Some exhibitors, and I would say they're the exception to the norm, their whole goal is sell, sell, sell. They have the morning meeting, the whole team's there, they're pumping each other up, they've got quotas to hit. I mean, that's what they're there to do.
And it can make some people's ears.
But the reality is that's what NADA was designed to do. That's why they have booths. So as much as so much of us are learning, we're networking, we're doing all these things. Micah, I apologize, I cut you off, because you're right. They make those massive events because it can make or break their year. Because it is a critical component, overall marketing strategy for their business. And we're not just talking about the marketing, They're selling light bulbs and car washes and insurance plans and
Yeah.
everything else. We're stuck in this vendor advertising world or technology world, but this can make or break a light bulb company.
Yeah. And how often do we see like when they're walking down the aisle and all of a sudden you see oh boy, I'm gonna have to hide my name tag as I'm walking through. And because vendors haven't respected that position of the general manager. But yeah, you're right, Katie, this is a sales environment. And these are professional salespeople that we're working with as running the dealerships, and we should be professionals as well. So how do we maintain that level of professionalism and knowing that they're coming there, some are there to buy, some are there to learn. It's just a matter of how do we best identify who that persona is that we should be engaging with, and still have a good time. It should be fun.
You know, one of my favorite parts about going to NADA every year is that there's something for everyone. If you are a vendor who absolutely loves the chase and the hunt and the big sale, there are dealers there that love that.
Yeah.
You know, and if you are a strategic networker, strategic cocktailer, you're there for learning and, that the overall exposure, there are also organizations that are going to be attracted to that style. So I really think it comes down to the networking and the people you affiliate with and who your people are in the car business. And one of my favorite people in the car business works for a car wash company. They sell car washes. So, it's just about understanding what your goal is, the type of person you are, and how different is NADA than pretty much any other social circle.
Yeah.
Or any other sales circle. It's no different than being on the line as a salesperson. There were people that walked in ready to make a purchase right then,
Absolutely.
and I enjoyed working with them. There are people that were doing their research for a purchase that was going to be later on during the year. I enjoyed working with them and maintain that relationship. So it's just about how well what you put into and what you get out of the experience.
Absolutely. And I can say Mike Benavides is a man that I met at NADA in, I don't even know, I'm dating myself, but I think it was the year of the doldrums when we were in New Orleans and everybody, all the vendors had money to spend and there were no dealers there. So you meet a lot of interesting people in those situations too, that build relationships for life.
And that's certainly where I step in. I'm a vendor. So it's the vendors who are typically my customers. And, we take great care in catering to them because they have a much different experience. They're there to sell dealers. But at the same time, especially in evening events or other things, it can be difficult for them to get into a party that is invitation only for dealers. And increasingly, we want to have experiences where we can bring people together, invite them to relax in an environment with other vendors, maybe some OEMs and other, dealership folks, but in a much broader setting. We touch on all types of, markets within our industry. But at the end of the day, our core customers are the vendors who we're arming to help make their stuff better. And, it's a line that even, we're careful in making sure that we cater to them, but at the same time, making sure that they have the time and the space to do what they need to do. And that's connect with dealers and present their message.
Yeah, I'm in your boat, Mike, in the sense that I'm not there to bring on dealer clientele, dealer business. I've thought about that because, we produce content that's to appeal to the dealer, right? It's kind of that the dealer would consume. And I thought, would it make sense to exhibit at these events for that purpose, to sign on members? But we don't necessarily monetize from that. But I take a media play at it. Like I want to do this in person and format, and I'm seeing that pick up a lot. In fact, Mike C, I was surprised talking to Shane. He wanted me to come by the booth on Monday. He's got Frank Lopes there as well. And then I think Arnold's coming by to do some stuff too. I'm like, wow, Shane, you're not just doubling up, you're tripling up on all these media components. And that's becoming more embraced, I think, too. We're all seeing that.
I'm having fun with Shane. He's new to automotive, so he's had to rely on us to try to get him caught up into this space, and he's been just wide-eyed and fascinated. It's like taking a little kid to Disneyland for the first time. You know, I've been to Disneyland because I live here 45 minutes from it. I've been here 1,000 times, but every time I take someone that's never been there, it's like seeing it all for the first time. And
Oh, yeah.
automotive now, sharing it with him and kind of bringing him into the experience has been really, really fun. And I think we're going to see a really good increase in attendance this year. I'm in dealerships all the time. I have 98 stores that I'm responsible for. In the last 12 months since NADA last year, I've been inside of each one of them. And a lot of them, more than I've heard in many, many years, are holding off on purchases because they're going to be going to NADA. You know, they're researching shop equipment or CRMs or what have you. And you know, it's often part of my job to have conversations that aren't about their day-to-day management with their DMS system. We'll just start talking about automotive because car people do that. And there's a lot of people going there that are looking for that information because they've got some big purchases coming up, contracts coming due, lifts or front end alignment racks that need to be replaced. So there's going to be a lot of people there getting a lot of good information. And I'm really thinking it's going to be a good show for everyone, vendors and dealers.
Katie, you're probably not affected by that, let's hold off till NADA to make a buying decision. I don't imagine that affects you as much at Cuneo.
Not as much, unless it is an organization, which we've been involved in these too, that's doing a massive RFP, talking to a lot of different agencies, and they're using NADA to have kind of cattle call meetings where they're meeting with potential agencies to narrow it down to their finalists. But otherwise, from an advertising agency perspective, we're mostly there to spend time with our client and our dealer body across the country who are there. A lot of the times we will meet with different vendors or technology or solutions that they are interested in, we're interested in, and we want to study it together to understand if it's the right fit. I have a very large team of people who are going this year, I think 3 of which are newbies. So we're just like you, Mike, there's the experience of having somebody see it who loves this business, just soak it in for the first time, and helping them build their network of people that I've been so blessed to build over the last decade plus. I was a mere child when I started going. But you know, it really is about, for an agency, it's about understanding what the new narratives are. I think there's going to be a lot of new narratives right now. There's a lot of changes in the Google space and how organizations are compensated for that area. Google My Business, and understanding how others are looking at those parameters. And of course, different reporting environments, measurement environments, different ways to help people buy cars so our dealers can sell cars, and just immersing into what the industry is talking about. It's as important for our organization to know what the industry is saying as it is for anything, because when our clients are asking us questions, we can't be surprised by those questions. We have to understand it and have important dialogue with industry leaders on why that's an important narrative, whether we agree with the narrative, to define our long-term positions on things.
I'm not going to address this to anybody, chime in to anybody. Do you think there is a single narrative right now coming into this? Is there
No.
There's a lot of different things going on.
There's a lot happening on the marketing side, but I would say if there's a universal narrative that I'm hearing from our dealer body across the country, it is solely focused on profitability and operational efficiencies and effectiveness. And I would say that anytime there is a feeling of a change in the force, whether that is a stabilization in the SAR or anything such as that, I think it just really forces dealers to identify what's working, what's not, cut some fat, and really dig into what's their reality. And so for me, if there's a consistent narrative, it's about operational effectiveness and profitability.
As a subcategory of that, it's really interesting to me to see the increase in focus and their attention on fixed ops. For so many years, dealerships been pressing everything on sales, just sell, where the profit margins are now cut to nothing. Manufacturers are just choking dealerships, and they're realizing that profitability is really in the service department, where it's always been, and they've always acknowledged that, but they haven't marketed for it. They haven't paid attention to it. They've kind of treated the service departments at dealerships like stepchildren, but now they're really having to say, hey, you are a major part of our business, so we're going to start getting you the attention you need.
You know, Mike, I'm so glad you bring that up, because that's really the reality. And I think we all as vendors get so caught up in the new car, used car sale, but every annual planning meeting I have walked into, the main dealer principals, the general manager, what's your service rate and what are you working, in that area?
Traditionally, or is this something you're seeing as of late?
I'm seeing it as of late. For the last year and a half, it's been an increase, and it's more than just a buzzword. It's more than just something that people are keying off of to spend marketing dollars on. It's an actual functional shift in attention.
And to clarify, they've been spending money on fixed operations. It just happens to be labeled sales. Okay, so now it's about defining. Okay, where is the spend, and now segregating those spends better. And I think they've spent the money on Google, they spent the money on Facebook, they've been spending the money on fixed ops, but it's because people use those services, they use Google as a phone book. And they're clicking on ads to find a service number, and now we have to be able to define that better. Where's the spend better allocated? How do we focus on keywords and SEO for fixed ops? As opposed to, I'm just going to let sales carry the brunt of it, let them spend the money, and I'll go ahead and benefit from the phone calls coming to the service department. And I think that's where we're starting to see a bit bigger of a shift.
It's intentional now.
Yeah, now it's intentional as opposed to unintentional. Nailed
Being in
it.
the business for so long, we all know how many cars are sold and how many cars are on the road and stuff, but it's not until you actually put real numbers to it that it kind of raises an eyebrow. Recently, I spoke to the California Automotive Business Coalition up in Sacramento, and as I was putting together my presentation for them, when I started looking at the actual numbers, nationwide, the average age of a vehicle is 11.8 years. Here in California, it's over 12 years. That's a long time for a lot of cars to be out on the road, and yet we keep selling more and more cars. It's not like people stopped buying cars and they're just keeping their cars longer. They're keeping their cars longer because it takes longer to finance them and pay them off, but they're also still buying more cars. I mean, right now there are over 270 million cars on the road. That's the most we've ever seen, and it's not going to shrink. It's going to continue to grow and get to a bigger number. So keeping those cars on the road now is something that people are really starting to think about more than they have before. So it's not accidental marketing, whereas they're focused on sales and services still getting the residual benefit. They're really starting to intentionally look at how to increase their service department's visibility. And it's really fascinating.
We're kind of hitting the mark we wanted to wind down.
Sorry.
I do have a couple things I wanted to bring up. One, I would almost classify as humorous, but before I do, not humorous, but a little scary, that came up today. But before I do, what about this as a narrative? Consolidation. When I think, I'm always thinking of where's the industry headed. I was fascinated by Bob Lutz's piece last year about, the coming age of mobility, and the picture that he created was that driving would become a recreational hobby. It would be more like you'd go to an auto park to drive, like you go to a golf club to play golf. That getting around, regular commuting and transporting, the vehicles would be relatively the same, computer driven, autonomously driven. Vehicles will still be owned, but not necessarily by the drivers. But consolidation was one of that too. We have somewhere between 18 and 20,000 franchise dealers owned by approximately, I think, 15,000 organizational entities. And I think the forecast is by like 2035, we'll have about, I think, something like 15,000 franchise dealerships owned by 8,000 or 9,000 entities, which is, that's a stark contrast from today. Is that on dealers' minds? Because I would throw into there that we're in big box America, and mom and pop gets swallowed up by big box. So AutoNation knows how to scale efficiency. So then they can go to a smaller dealership and just say, well, we're just going to absorb that and consolidate that. Is that on dealers' minds right now?
I think if you're talking, absolutely it is. I mean, the second and third generation dealership groups out there, we have a lot of them we're working with. Sometimes the family to continue in the operations, but one of the things that I'm finding about these larger and larger dealership groups is a lack of profitability on a store-by-store level, because the GM dealer body is getting younger every day. And because they're not kind of raised in the car business to run dealership, there's a lack of mentorship and leadership and raising that next generation of general managers. Thank goodness there's the NADA academies. I'm getting back to the point of, I think it's absolutely going to shrink. And I think the car business is going to continue to evolve on just the entire operational experience and what roles are in these dealerships, simply because big box is going to have a system and a way of doing every single task within a dealership. And because there's going to be 8,000 owners versus 15. And I think that the entire landscape of employees of dealerships will change, just as well as how the vendors interact with them.
Agreed.
I think a broader theme to that is disruption. So consolidation is a byproduct of disruption, or even perceived disruption. And I think that's one thing that's definitely on the dealers' minds as they enter in the coming years. I mean, their entire franchise, business model is under threat from electrification of vehicles. You have rideshare that is, potentially a threat, but also an opportunity, especially, we were talking about fixed ops before. That's definitely an area that's exploded because of the increase in that. And then even within the space itself, you have a ton of private equity money that's pouring into our space, buying up companies, consolidating them, whether that's in the marketing space. It's certainly happening in the body shop and repair side of the business, all over in all sectors. There's a whole lot of money coming in for a whole lot of different reasons to consolidate and to bring technology into a market, that is rapidly shifting, and people are, wondering how they're going to compete in the future, whether they're a dealer or a vendor or an OEM, with the current products that are out there in the market. So if there was a theme that was definitely on a lot of people's minds going in, I would call it disruptive.
That's fair. I think it's an astute point. Okay, final thought, and then this is a little bit serious. I didn't mean to say it's funny. It's a little serious, but I had a call today, and NADA came up in the conversation, and the person I was talking to said their company bailed out on NADA, forced them to hold off because of the coronavirus. And it hadn't occurred to me, but they basically had to pull out. The company didn't want any of their employees going to Vegas because there's such a large, tourism spot for the Asian, I guess, countries. And I thought about that. I'm like, I didn't think about that.
Right, I didn't think about it either. Now you got me thinking about it.
I know.
Yeah, how many cases of coronavirus are in Las Vegas right now?
Well,
and
here's the thing.
Let alone the U.S. at, I think, 11 as we're reporting.
13.
But here's the thing. Hold on. You got to think about this. If there were issues of coronavirus in Vegas, I believe that the Vegas government would do everything they can to not let that out. They would not want that to be known.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is for all the people who have made fun of me for my germophobia, my wiping down of my armrests and my seat on the airplane, traveling with Lysol, and wrapping up my remote control with the ice bucket bag. Here we go. See, there's reasons for it.
Who's going to have the mouth cover tchotchkes?
Mask. Surgical mask.
I've always frowned upon it, but I don't know. And this came up today. It's got me thinking. I'm like, do we need to take precautions?
Way to be a buzzkill, Ryan.
I know.
Yeah.
I was boarding a
The
plane
amount
last Tuesday, and there was a gentleman sitting next to an open seat, and he had a mask on, and he noticed me looking at him, and he pulled his mask on, and he goes, no, I'm not sick. I'm just not wanting to get sick. I promise you, I'm not sick, so you can sit here. I was just really paranoid.
Yeah.
Well, something to think about. I felt it was important enough to bring on it, and
Thanks, Brian.
it's definitely got me thinking.
Don't shake hands, just pop elbows. You'll be
Right?
fine.
Do
There you
bro
go.
hugs. All right. So Micah and Mike C, you guys are doing a half marathon. Darren,
Yep.
I think you're going to Vegas, right? You're not.
I'm not, no,
You're not.
not this time.
Katie, you'll be there. Hopefully we'll cross paths on Friday. Mike, I'm going to see you Friday and Saturday, I think. You have a reception. You have 2 receptions?
Yes,
We
so
were-
from 5 to 7 at the Vidara Hotel, we have cocktail receptions, inviting our, our customers, our prospects, industry friends, really as a way to come, collaborate with us, meet the team, meet each other, because essentially we certainly we encourage our customers to work together and to integrate with each other. It certainly makes them stronger. Especially those that have, different pieces of a solution that dealers may want. And it's an opportunity to come after the show, before the parties or other dinners and things, to relax, have a drink, have a couple appetizers in a relaxed environment. So from 5 to 7 at the Vidara on Saturday and Sunday, we're hosting in our suite so that people have that, that relaxed atmosphere before they transition into the evening's events.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and wind things down here, and just thank you to each and every one of you for making it today, making this a great
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on
Um,
here. Thank you.
What I'm going to do, folks, is share my screen one last time here. So this is our monthly roundup, if you will, of the Advanced Auto Retail Marketing panel discussion series. Like I said, one of 6 different programs we run under the Auto Retail Marketing webcast. Each of these requires its own one-time registration. You can participate in as many as you like. Here's the list of them. Once you register for that individual series, you're always registered, and you'll automatically be invited to join us on each upcoming session, which we announce, by the way, in many places. We announce it on the blogs. We put it up on our LinkedIn group, our company page on LinkedIn. We have a Facebook events for all of these. So there's even a calendar here with all of our programming listed as well. And you can see the dates and what's coming up, and we're putting people's names in there. So come be part of all the action, be an influencer, and be a thought leader with us. Tomorrow we have the Mobility Tech and Connectivity Show. My guest tomorrow, I thought I just brought it up here, is, where did he go? It disappeared. Is Scott Hall. Sorry, I lost it. I guess I can't bring it up. Scott Hall from Swapalis will be up here with us, and that's tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get notifications. And that way you always have a link to these shows so you can watch them on your own time. I'm Ryan Girardi. Thanks again for tuning in, and thanks to our panelists. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.